Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, hello, and how is everyone doing today? My name is Sharise Johnson Moore, and I am the executive producer of Authors Excerpt Sunday podcast. And today we have a special guest. His name is Schuyler Williamson, and the title of his book is the steady
Leader.
Oh my God. The steady leader. I'm sorry, y'all. Sorry. Okay, so hello, Mr. Schuyler, how you doing? And I want to say thank you for coming in and being a guest on Authors Extra Sunday podcast. And so, can you give us an introduction about yourself and about yourself and tell us what motivated you to write your book?
Yeah, I'd love that. I'll give you the medium version of my story. All right. And then you can expand if you'd like that. But, I grew up in a very loving household, very humble household. We didn't have much. My brothers and I have two brothers. We all lived kind of in the same bedroom, and we were blessed to have grandparents that could buy us things for sports and stuff like that. But, everything else is kind of, if you wanted it, you probably had to wait. We got what we needed, right? And we were blessed with very loving parents. My parents are still married to this day, still wildly in love with each other. So they're great role models in that way. But when I was growing up, I had to get my own way through college if I was going to do it. It wasn't, no one's going to pay for me or anything like that. So I focused on sports, and my dream was to play professional sport. And so I worked real hard on that, and God blessed me with an appointment to West Point. I remember I was sitting down with my father, and I had to choose, like, go to the University of Miami or kind of go to West Point. I had two great colleges to choose from. And I remember my dad telling me, hey, you might make it to the NFL, and that would be great. But the chances are you'll probably get injured. And if I were you, I'd go to West Point. If you went to West Point, you'll never live a life like we've lived together thus far. And I said, well, that sounds good. I'll go to West Point. And so I got into West Point, and a wild thing happened. I ended up still getting the opportunity to play professional sports after West Point. But when I graduated, it was 2005, and we were at a time of war. We were on two fronts. We were in Iraq and Afghanistan at that point. And the Detroit Tigers drafted me. I played a minor league season with them, and they invited me back to spring training. And I just called them and I said, I need to go into the military. All my friends from West Point are serving. My younger brother served overseas in Iraq. And so I called Detroit and I told them I wasn't coming back. I was going to go into the military. And it's funny. My wife and I, we thought that was a good decision back then. I don't know what in our wildest dreams we were thinking about, but God's always got a plan, and we went in that direction. And so I served 6 years in the military. I did the Ranger School, I did the Airborne, I did all the stuff that the guys that are the most extreme go and do. And I fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I wanted to start a family. Both my wife and I, we both wanted kids, but we were fighting so hard that she didn't want to have a child with me and then me not come home. And so it put me in a position where I was like, okay, well, do I choose the military or do I choose growing my family? And, for me, that was a pretty easy decision. I chose growing my family, and that changed my life pretty dramatically. I could have seen myself becoming a general and being in the military a very long time, retiring. I thought that would have been a great life for me. And, in a lot of ways, God built me to be a warrior. But I pivoted hard. I went to the University of Texas for their business school. So I got a master's in business from McCombs here in town in Austin, Texas. And then went into corporate America. After 5 years in corporate America, we started a couple of businesses. So, we're business owners now, small business owners. And a couple years ago, and this is getting into why I wrote the book. A couple years ago, I was reading the book Pray First. It had just come out, had good reviews, and and I knew the pastor that wrote the book, and so I read it. And when I was reading the book, the prayer of Jabez is a whole chapter of that book, and God gave me the word influence. He put that on my heart, which is funny because I'm a pretty introverted guy. I'll do great on this show. I'll perform, I'll do great here, but I'm a pretty introverted guy. I could go live in the middle of nowhere and be happy as, anybody else in the world, just being by myself. And so it was kind of funny to me that God put influence on my mind, but I went and I studied all influencers and looked for their models and how they became influencers. And the one thing that I had not done was write a book. And so it's like, okay, well, I'll write the book. If all it is writing a book, putting your head down and getting it done, I'll do it. And I searched for, what is the one thing that I could tell stories about that people want to listen to? And the biggest gift that I bring the world, and that's just, to my family, to my businesses, to my friends, I'm the steady leader. That's who I am. And so I've taken the models of how I lead myself, lead my team, and lead my business, and I put those models in that book. And that's just my gift to the world was, hey, here's how I'm steady. And I believe that the best leaders in this world are all steady. I believe that every leadership book you read ultimately be tied back to making you more steady as a leader so that your people trust you, so that they feel comfortable with you, so that they like you, they know who they're getting, and that's what you want as a leader. So, it's all after this idea of influence that I believe God put on my heart, to go share his message. But I know this, people won't follow you unless you're living a life that they at least want something from it, right? Like they need to want something from your life to follow you. And so, I'm working hard on all my businesses to build wealth and, speak and do some things like this. I'm doing all of the hard work to try to get that word influence.
Yes. So who has been your biggest inspiration during your journey?
Funny enough, it didn't start off this way. But I ended up reading a couple of books by John Maxwell, and then I was invited to go to one of his events, and it was just like, this is kind of weird, that the timing all work. I'm working on this book, and then I read a book, and then I'm invited to this leadership guy's, mastermind, and hear him speak. I think that the way that he writes, I think that the way that he speaks and the message that he communicates, I think he's a good inspiration. And I mean, if we got time, I'll tell you a quick story that really resonated. I think is a good message. If you know the parable of the Good Samaritan, John had a wonderful message by using that story from the Bible. If you remember the story, there was a man that was moving, down a road. Okay, I'm just going to simplify it so that we can get through it quick. But he's moving down the road. Okay, and some people saw that he had some stuff that they wanted, so they attacked him, right? And they took his stuff and they hurt him and left him there for dead, right?
Yes.
And the perspective that those people on the street were, hey, what you have is mine and I'm going to take it. So that was the first perspective. The second perspective was, well, then there was these Pharisees and religious folks that were walking down the road and saw the gentleman that was hurt on the side of the road, but they moved to the other side of the road and crossed and left them there, didn't help them. And their perspective was, what's mine is mine and you can't have it. Then there was what we know as the Good Samaritan, right? Who saw the man, helped the man, treated the wounds, helped them to an inn, not only put him in the inn, but paid for his stay and told the owner of the inn, like, hey, listen, I will be back. Let this man stay as long as he needs to until he recoups his health. I will pay his debts when it's all over with.
Mm-hmm.
And that third perspective was what's mine is yours, and I'm going to give it.
Yes.
Now the thing that not everybody talks about, and this was what John gave me,
Mm-hmm.
was the fourth perspective. And that is everything that I have, every win, every luxury, every resource, every gift, every talent, everything that I have
Mm-hmm.
is a gift of God, and I'm to steward it. And
Yes.
so the fact that I had a book in me,
Yes.
that was a gift. And if I don't steward that well, then that gift will be taken from me, right?
Yes.
Or it will be a lost gift.
Mm-hmm.
And Sharice, that hit so hard when I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like if you just quit doing your podcast,
Right.
right? Like you're gifted at doing this, and so you're going to keep doing it. If that you're given to the world, you're stewarding it.
Yes.
And so when he told that story, I was like, all right, well, first, I love this guy. Genuinely, he doesn't know who I am, but I love him.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I was like, all right, you know what? God gave me these gifts. I got to go steward them. I got
Right.
to help people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I know that's how um I feel about my podcast, because God gave me the idea for the podcast. And when
Yeah.
God gives you a vision, you have to do your assignment. That's just like when he asked me after I had the three deaths in my life, of my grandmother, my father, and my mother right behind each other. And then he gave me
Yeah.
the idea sitting in my mother's funeral saying, okay, now it's time for you to write your book. And I'm sitting there like, okay, what? I'm thinking I'm imagining the voice and things like that. And then I sit there for a few minutes and the voice says, now it's time for you to write your book. Says it again. And I'm sitting there like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, I gotta really be, kind of tripping in this moment, right? And
Yeah.
then the third time the voice speaks, it says, now it's time for you to write your book. And I'm like, okay, Lord, all right, okay, no problem. I'll do
You
what you
say yes.
ask. I'll be obedient. And then my sister said, you say something to me? I said, no, baby, I'm just talking to the good Lord. And,
Oh yeah.
so, being given the gifts and talents that God gives us, you know, those are our assignments. And we have to
Yeah.
be obedient to our assignments when he gives us direction. And you can, I know all about the running from the calling, and and not doing what I'm asked. I'm like, what's his name, Jonah, in the whale
Yep.
story. I run away, try to. I ain't doing that. I'm not trying to hear all that. That ain't me. And I realized God always ends up bringing you right back to where He asked you, like he did
Mm-hmm.
Jonah. He ends up bringing you right back to where I asked you to be.
Mm.
Do this. This is what I asked you. You can avert it, you can run from it, but God always has a way of bring you right back to where what I want you to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are some of the pivotal moments in your career that shaped your path?
Well, I have to say, fortunately or unfortunately, combat was a big part of who I am today. Whenever you have to fight and endure what we had to endure,
Yeah.
um, it's going to have a lasting impact, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately for some veterans, it really disables them. It prevents them from fulfilling their full potential.
Yes.
Again, I was blessed. It's beautiful the way that my life has been protected.
Mm-hmm.
But I had my wife when I came home,
Yeah.
and I had nightmares for 60 days straight. 60 days straight.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife kept loving me, and she
Mm-hmm.
kept being there for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I kept wanting to be healed. Right, I kept wanting all of that,
Yeah.
and but it gave me endurance, and
Mm-hmm.
it gave me a gift in that I've got beautiful perspective in this life.
Mm-hmm.
I know how bad things can be. I know
Yeah.
how stressful things can be when your life's at risk.
Yeah.
Or when you when you lose a friend tragically, right next to you, these things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I learned how to command, because I was an officer in the military. So I controlled the unit. So I learned how to command. I learned how to endure. I learned how to embrace hard times,
Yeah.
not complain about them, just roll your sleeves up and get it done.
Yeah. Right.
That military time was very formative in it, and it taught me how to think like a strategic person too,
Yeah. Yes.
which I'm very grateful for. And so when you look at my life today and my businesses today, when I plan, even though, listen, I realize my life is not at risk anymore. I mean, I'm not being silly.
Yeah.
But when I plan, the intensity that I bring when I plan was the same intensity that I would plan when my life was on the line. We would plan these missions knowing that people were going to attack us. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And so I plan for my businesses that way. When I look at a situation, I'm always thinking, what's the most probable outcome here? What's the most dangerous outcome?
Yeah.
I've got this thing I talk around the office and I write about it a little bit in the book. But we're combat ready. And to me, combat ready means being mentally prepared, being physically prepared, and being spiritually prepared, right?
Yeah.
You need to be prepared in all those ways to be truly ready for anything, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I didn't write the book, The Average Leader, right? I wrote the book, The Steady Leader, but only the exceptional are steady. Steady producers, steady with their temperament, steady with their emotional intelligence, right? Only the exceptional are that way. The rest of them are average. And listen, that's okay. Not everybody's gone through what I've gone through, but I think that those times in the military prepared me for tough times that I'm going through maybe today. And that it's really tough for a lot of people, but for me, I've kind of been through some tough times, and I know there's another side to this, and what I need to do is just to keep thinking, keep being a thinker, not a reactor, respond to things, not react to things, and I need to keep making just the right decision at this moment. Because sometimes our decisions, even though they're the right decision, they're not going to work out, right? But that doesn't mean the rest of your decisions go to, down the dumpster. No, you keep making the right decision. All right, my situation has changed for the worse. We're in this moment. Make the next right decision. Then make the next one. Make the next one. And that's how I approach my life. And I give the Army a lot of credit for that. I mean, not everybody has the same experience as I had in the military, but that's what I received.
Yes. Yes. So, are you prepared to read an excerpt out of your book for us today?
Yeah. I have 2 paragraphs here from my introduction, actually, that I thought was, pretty good. All right. So the title of this section in my introduction is The Goal of Steadiness. And here we go. One of my favorite verses in the Bible says, wise and knowledgeable leaders bring stability. That's in Proverbs chapter 28, verse 2. Not wealth, not everlasting prosperity, not fame, not notoriety. Go read any leadership book out there and take a step back. What are they telling you to do? It doesn't matter if the book's focus is strategic, tactical, emotional, or anything else. The end goal, the end result is stability. In other words, steadiness. Your team needs to feel safe to be productive. Seek to be a steady leader, and your organization will thrive. In my own leadership journey as an athlete, a soldier, an executive, a husband, and a father, nothing has proven more important than steadiness. Nothing has made a bigger impact than showing up, whether I was in the wild, unpredictable chaos of war, or in the repetitive, mundane routine of normal life, as a grounding force, immovable, focused, and predictable. Nothing has been more valuable than to show up every single day as the same kind, hope-filled, confident, loving, servant-hearted person, no matter what is going on around me, and then to lead others from this space. So I mean, I believe that's the goal, right? That's the goal that I have for this book. That's the goal that I have for my leadership, is to be excellent, right?
Yes.
Not to be perfect,
Yes.
but to be excellent.
Yes.
And to be excellent, you got to be consistent. You got to be steady, right?
Right. Right.
So this book, that's what I gave you. And again, we follow Jesus's life. I mean, he's
Yeah.
the perfect example of a steady leader. It
Right.
didn't matter what was thrown at him. Now look, check it out.
Right.
Jesus, he had to step away, right? He had to step away. He had to go think, pray, right? Like he had to do those things, and leaders have to do that. But what
Yes.
leaders don't do is fall apart in front of everybody,
Right.
right? Maintain that temperament, then
Yes.
maintain that steadiness,
Yes.
right? Because you're the leader,
Yeah.
right? You have kids, you're the leader of those kids. That's
Mhm.
what you said yes to when you had them.
Right. Right. Right.
And leaders can have bad moments, but leaders can't have bad days. They can't have bad weeks, right?
Mhm.
Leaders can't have bad months.
Right.
You've got to dig deep, and you got to find a way to be steady. Find a way. Become a student of it.
Yes. Yes. All right. I know that's right. So
Yeah.
what is next for you as far as your career or your, career or personal life is concerned?
Yeah. My goal right here with this book is to be a bestseller. So we're working real hard to push that as an initiative. So I would invite you and any other colleagues that you have, and certainly all your listeners, please buy the book. That's a big part of becoming a bestseller, is selling books.
Right.
But we're gonna do that, and we're building a laundry franchise right now. It's under the brand Laundry Love, and we're excited about that initiative. And we're building and selling homes here in Austin, Texas. Yeah, and if you go to SchuylerWilliamson.com, you can see all of that. But I've got beautiful people that work for me with beautiful families, and they're all motivated, and we're just we're going to grow, and I'm going to go after influence. And I know that if it's God's will for me to have influence, then I'm going to do everything in my power to share how He's blessed my life. He's blessed my marriage. He's blessed my children, my businesses. He's blessed me with so much freedom.
Yes.
From all the trauma that I've been through. It's I just hope that I have that opportunity, and then I know when I have that opportunity, the words, they'll come. They'll be the perfect words for that person in that moment, and that's what I hope for my future.
Yes. So, what events do you have coming up, such as you might have book signings or other events coming up? So you can fill in with those events.
Yeah. So if you go to SchuylerWilliamson.com or go to thesteadyleader.com, when you buy a book,
yes,
you will be invited to our launch party, and I hope to bring some great content for myself at that event. It can be virtual or in person. You choose. But we're going to bring some good content. I hope to bring a couple of steady leaders to that as well, and that'll be the first event that we host around this concept of steady leader. Certainly, if your folks want to reach out, I'm here to help in any way that I can. I'd love to bless anybody's life that needs to talk to someone like me.
I know, right? Yeah. So what advice would you give to a aspiring author?
Yeah. I think the best thing you could do is probably surround yourself with other people that have done it, because it isn't as easy as you think it's going to be, but that's part of the process, right? Like, I think a lot of people probably give up on their book because it ain't as easy as they thought it was going to be.
Right.
And there's all types of routes, right?
Yes.
I'm an okay writer. I'm not a great writer. So I have a partner that helped me write the book, so I would write a little bit, they would write a little bit. And so I would not shy away from partnering with someone if writing, if you've got a message that the world needs to hear.
Yes.
feel like you have to write it too. You just have to deliver it. And so go partner with a gifted writer so that they can actually get the work done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say just stay consistent, right? You know, I met and I wrote twice a week. You know, I had to run the rest of my life, right? I got kids, I got business to run the rest of that. But I wrote twice a week until it was done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that consistency matters too. You mean you got to get fired up and be so passionate about your message
Yes.
that you can keep getting it done, because it won't be a quick journey.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what, partner with people, and then just, you know, stay with it. Set your schedule and stay with it. I mean, those are the two biggest, and those are easy things, but those are the two biggest things that help me get my book out of me.
Okay. I know that's right. So where can our viewers find your book?
Yep. You can go to thesteadyleader.com. You can also go to schuylerwilliamson.com. That's the website that you know, I share my businesses and the book on.
Mm-hmm.
But either of those, you can follow me on LinkedIn. It's Schuyler Williamson. I think I'm the only Schuyler Williamson spelled that way in Austin, Texas, which is wild because Austin's a big city now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, I'm a big reader. So if you want to get daily kind of summaries of leadership books, I post every single morning on LinkedIn, just, you know, what I've learned from reading that morning. So it's my way of journaling, and I just share it with the world.
Oh no, that's wonderful. That is so wonderful. You know, it's always good not to just work on our own books, but also be avid readers of others' books and try, you know, to incorporate them into what we do in our daily living.
Yeah.
So, you know, I greatly, greatly appreciate you, Schuyler, for coming in and
Yeah.
being my guest today on Author's Excerpt Sunday podcast. And do you have any other announcements you would like to share with the audience before we close out?
No, just some point today, look somebody in the eye and tell them you love them. How about that?
I know that's right. I know that's right. I know that's right. That's a good one. That is a good one, because you don't know what those three words have that much power to bring someone out of the darkness.
Yeah.
You know, they could be depressed. They could be, you know, thinking about suicide. They could be thinking about doing something that would be detrimental to them or
Yeah.
detrimental to someone else. And those three
Yeah.
words have they have more power than some people think, you know,
Oh,
and it is good for you to say, love thy neighbor as thyself, you know,
yeah.
and tell them that you love them, and that, you know, they are needed and they are cherished and they are valued. And
Oh, yeah.
I do need you. And, you know, because you never know whose life you're changing with them three words.
Oh,
You
yeah.
never
Don't be stingy with your love.
know. Right,
That's the biggest gift you can give somebody. You give that
right,
to everybody.
right,
Yeah, I've had people kind of hold their love back. Nah, don't be stingy. Give it.
right,
Give it.
right. Don't be stingy. Don't be stingy. Okay. Okay, so Schuyler, I want to thank you so much for coming in to be a guest on Authors Extra Sunday podcast, and come back again when you have another book. You know, come back and share with us what other things that you do, you know, with your life, with your career, with your business, things of that nature. Because I believe in bringing exposure to everybody and all aspects of their life. All right. Thank you, Mr. Schuyler Williamson, for being my special guest for today. I greatly appreciate you, and come back again, okay?
All right, I will. You're welcome. God bless.
All right. God bless. I want to say thank you to everyone that has come into Authors Excerpt Sunday to watch and listen. Our episode today was special guest Schuyler Williamson, and the title of his book is The Steady Leader. Right? And the steady leader. You gotta be steady. You gotta be in the pose of in prayer, and always have a steady head and a steady heart to go along with your leadership. Thank you so much, Mr. Schuyler Williamson, And all right, everyone, thank you so much for coming today to be our guest, to be with us on Authors Excerpt Sunday podcast. See y'all next time on Authors Excerpt Sunday podcast. Y'all have a blessed day.